Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got 5 more cool knives that you definitely need to check out. I'm going to be linking everything right down in the description as per usual. There's one that's not quite available yet, but it will be very soon, so I wanted to include it just so you guys can be ready. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Not everything that I'm going to show today has been reviewed, but it will be reviewed very, very soon. Rest assured that everything on this list is stuff that I definitely think is cool and that you guys will definitely like. Let's start off here with the Kaiser Original. Holy cow. Did you guys know that this existed? I didn't. This is an $84 aluminum and 154 cm button lock that will definitely scratch the itch for the people who are furiously trying to get their hands on the ProTech Malibu. But instead of, waiting and waiting and waiting, and then even if you get one, having to pay, what, $220, $240, these guys, 84 bucks. It's a little bit smaller, but it's thumb stud operated, which I love. That makes it, in some ways, a little bit better, right? Like I said, it's a little shorter, 154 cm, and aluminum. You can get it in green and black or all black. This is wonderful. If you've never handled a button lock, they are some of the easiest to manipulate knives. You can see here, no spring. If you're new, no spring. This is running on bearings. It's just, the lock is button operated, and the thumb studs, can be used in a reverse flick fashion or a forward flick fashion. We have a nearly fully flat ground blade with a nice thin stock, or at least reasonably thin. We have pillar construction on the aluminum. The anodizing on the aluminum is great. The pocket clip is wonderful. This is a wonderful, wonderful knife. Definitely super cool. Definitely one you need to check out. Moving on here, one that is not quite available yet, but will be available very, very soon, and that's the CIVI Buttonlock Chevalier. Wow, this is awesome. 14C28N on the sheep's foot blade, and then you have a bunch of different choices for scales. This one's in wood, but you do have like G10, I think micarta and some other stuff. I think this guy's gonna come in at something like 70 bucks, which puts it in my opinion, budget territory. This is probably, there's a lot of CIVI button locks that are really, really good right now, and I know you guys have seen them on my channel. This is probably one of the best combinations of everything, and they just keep, like every time CIVI releases a button lock, I'm like, that's a little bit better than the last one. This one is kind of like everything all together, just encompassing that budget button lock excellence, right? I love the sheep's foot blade. I think this does a lot better for day-to-day EDC than a classic drop point, but that's entirely up to you. Fortunately, CIVI's got lots of different button locks in this general price territory to choose from, but wow, they really, really nailed it with this. This carries like a smaller knife than it is because of a reasonably slender profile. I'm gonna give you guys a comparison up against the Benchmade Bug Out, which is kind of like the compact carry choice, but that's a much more expensive knife, right? This is a little bit bigger, but you get more cutting edge, very, very similar handle profile and shape, etc., etc. This is wonderful. It should be here very, very soon. The link down in the description is a coming soon link, so you can sign up for notifications. There's a bunch of different versions of this in terms of aesthetics, so I urge you to check it out. Very, very cool knife. Moving on here, one that many people will find familiar, but I know that there's a lot of new people who watch my channel, and by the time you started watching, you might not have known that this knife existed or that it has quite the legacy. That's gonna be the Kershaw Nautilus. This is a very inexpensive knife. For those of you who still like, or maybe you just like the idea of an assisted knife, right, where you pull the flipper tab and a spring sort of helps you flip it out. It depends on where you are in your knife journey and what you prefer. Some people don't prefer the assisted thing, some people do. This is one of those knives that, if you're gonna go with an assisted knife, the Kershaw Nautilus is a really, really good choice. These are about 30 bucks or so, I think. ATR 13 MOV steel, which is the equivalent to Ahhhh 8, and it's not my favorite steel in the world, but it'll get the job done. Great handle profile, good pocket clip, good blade profile. I think the all black one is probably the best looking version of this out there. This is gonna be G10, and then we have sort of a sub frame lock that's made out of steel. Looks nice. The whole thing looks great. This is just still a really good, there's nothing to say here that hasn't been said already. And basically what I just said, it's really all there is to say about this knife. It's just a generically good knife. And you know, you can look down to the comment sections from people who have been in the knife world for years and years and years and years. They probably have roughly the same opinion of the Natrix. It just is it's just a reasonable knife. And if, you know, if you're looking for your first good pocket knife, this isn't a bad choice. This is a cool knife, guys. Definitely check it out, especially if you're new. Moving on here, one that is definitely new to most of us. And I'm going to make sure that I pronounce this correctly because the word is, yeah. The Sencut, I think it's the Bront or Bronte. I'm not really sure. This is it's kind of like I don't know if we want to call this like a modified clip point. I'm sure people will argue about that. Very good blade shape for EDC, given that the tip is down here. We have this sort of cutout right here. Kind of reminds me of, you know, the end of a scimitar. But it is a front flipper. It's one of those knives that has a fully straight handle profile. Very easy access to the liner lock. Definitely no double clutch or anything like that. I'm saying that because there is a point where it technically does have a flipper. There is a point down here where the sharpening choil meets your thumb for one-handed disengagement of the lock. And the detent ball is well up on the face of the blade, which means you're not going to get any rock back and forth. For those of you wondering what double clutch is, that's a decent explanation. There's also a nice fuller here, which allows you to reverse flick it. That's something that I really appreciate. Pretty slender profile. It looks like it might carry kind of tall right there, but really, like up against the Para 3, a super popular knife right now, it's still nowhere near as tall. It really shouldn't be that big of a deal. This is Sencut, so it's essentially a CIVI, right? Same company as we/CIVI. So we get that glorious gooseneck pocket clip, which is okay. It's kind of a B- of a clip. Nice standoffs, nice construction all the way around. Something I really like is that we have stops that are internal, but they're kind of garaged or inside or underneath the scales. That's kind of a neat touch. These come in at about 50 bucks, and I want to say it's hard to remember all of the teeny tiny little details. I believe these are D2, which is still a plenty, you know, reasonable choice at $50. And then the micarta is also nice. These have quite a few options. I think the one thing that I'll say to watch out for in this knife is that there's no guard. So basically this line is just straight right here. If you're not paying attention, you're cutting quite a bit, or you're wearing gloves especially, you might not know where you are. You don't want to run your finger up on the blade, but it depends on what you're doing. The front flipping action is very, very good on this, and I'm so happy that they put this fuller in here so that, you know, if you want to, you can open it up like that. You're not confined specifically to and this can also be top flipped if you're wondering. You're not confined specifically to that. You can use that fuller to reverse flick it. And I think probably even, can we get in there enough to, yeah, you can even thumb flick it. Very cool. I like this one. Very, very nice. All right, so we did 4 less expensive knives. I've got 1 expensive knife that's also US made. I think this is super duper duper underrated right now and definitely deserves more attention. This is the M3 Tactical Tech CCT folder. USA made. This is a titanium frame lock with carbon fiber. Mine's got carbon fiber. There is a full titanium variant out there if you look around. And then we have a Persian style clip point that has been bead blasted in M390 steel. These are expensive at $350, but anybody who knows, right, when we're talking about US made stuff, especially in this hyper premium category, which this definitely falls into, it's gonna cost way more. This is a wicked, wicked folding knife, and it is so different than a lot of the stuff that we see out there. But something that I really appreciate about it is that while it does have all of these crazy aesthetics and it's got like this real strike count, it's got a loud presence, right? It's not just laying on the table. This thing looks like it's yelling at you. They managed to do that and still make it a functional design, meaning access to the frame lock to disengage it with one hand is great. The flipper tab, great. The detent, it's about medium, right? It's not a heavy detent, but that flipper tab is shaped correctly so that you can successfully light switch it. All of the lines flow together. Ergonomically, you're kind of locked into one spot, but that one spot is very comfortable thanks to a nice, flat, slightly contoured pocket clip that's not super long. The holes don't get in the way of anything. In fact, I kind of think they look good. I don't normally like, you know, weight reduction holes that extend out to the face of the scales, but this actually looks good. The whole thing is just screaming tactic. M3 Tactical Tech CTC, or wait, what's it? CCT folder, right? Yeah, it's just screaming tact. But you know what? They did it correctly. They did everything correctly. This is a nice knife. I don't know if you guys have seen my review on it yet. It's coming. This is cool though. I honestly don't have a problem with the price tag. I mean, a lot of the hyper expensive premium foreign knives fall into the $350 territory. It's kind of impressive that this thing, you know, makes it to 350 bucks. The edge is crazy sharp. Everything is done super well. There's no awkwardness or ugliness or anything like that. It's a really good looking knife. This is a super cool knife. And for those of you looking for a nice USA folder, right, and are dealing with everything being sold out right now, believe me, I feel your pain. Check this guy out, CCT folder. I'll link this right down below. Let's get everything back out here so that you guys can take a look, try to keep them in order. Yeah, there we go. So once again, we have the Kaiser original creative marketing there. Because when people decide to look up original button lock, it's going to bring up Kaiser. Golf clap for Kaiser. That was smart. Kaiser original button lock. We have the CIVI Chevalier button lock. We have the Kershaw Nautilus Classic. We have the Sencut Bronte, I think is how we say that. And then we have the M3 Tactical Tech CCT. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of 5 Cool Knives. I'll have a playlist, so if you want to check out the previous episodes of 5 Cool Knives, you can definitely do that. If you're new to my channel, I upload twice a day. Yes, I'm serious. I've been doing it for 3 years now. I've been doing YouTube for 4 total. So if you like knives, you like this kind of stuff, it would make me happy if you subscribed. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex if you enjoyed this video. Leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.